Alright, I was just reviewing the footage from the last video, and it turns out I did it again. Recorded a whole hour-long video without checking to make sure my mic was actually receiving input. So I'm fairly sure it is receiving input this time, so... Pretty confident that you're reading me now. So there should not be yet another silent video, or silent from a narration perspective. Let's back you up a little bit. Yeah, there's a lot of dramatic events going on, wiping out most of their tanks. Feeling like I was on the edge of victory and their counterattack coming in. And making that seem a little bit more dicey for a little while. And all the accompanying narration just wasn't picked up. Again. It's always when I have the most riveting narration, and no one can contradict me on that. Is always when else have I got with me in the tank rifle? Yeah, it kind of unleashed my tank, sent them rushing ahead, because it kind of felt like the enemy resistance was crumbling, and I wanted to rapidly exploit. But then it kind of seemed like they were recovering with, getting more troops in here, and they ended up actually losing a couple of tanks, as Miatilda 2s are tough, but they can be killed if you leave them in a vulnerable enough position. Oh, 3 actually, because there's this one. It had been a firepower kill earlier, and I just kind of left it sitting there because I stopped thinking about it. So the Miatilda 2s are not invincible, but they are very tough. By early war standards. Okay, still got more enemy infantry in there. Two advancing up there. I think I want you... Now, let's make that second order and advance. At a certain point, I'm going to want to send my tanks back to finish off the enemy tanks. In fact, some of their tanks have started moving about my rear, creating some urgency. That was an anti-tank rifle. Left some of my anti-tank rifles back, kind of guarding prisoners. Not actually sure how necessary it is to guard prisoners. Like, unlike see them too. The prisoners never disappear. But also, they don't seem to unsurrender themselves unless, as in the case of some of these guys, they sort of got uncaptured by nearby enemy forces, which come to that. Let's move you away from that tank there. Maybe move you back this way. Kind of felt like I was on the verge of victory last time, but we didn't quite get there. I kind of thought I was closer to victory than I actually was. Sent my tanks rushing forward to exploit and rapidly bring the enemy to rapidly get the enemy to surrender. But then they kind of found themselves in a bit of a tough situation, so I finally got my infantry, my slower moving but all important infantry, up to rescue my tanks. Okay, enough rambling on. Let's this going again. So you are finally on the way. Surrendered just a minute of time. Continuing to eliminate enemy infantry. More enemy infantry eliminated. Captured troops controlled moving. The tank rifle is shooting at the light tank. The tank is shooting at the enemy tank. Alright, I kind of rushed my tanks back over to the center before they could finish wiping out the enemy tanks. Sort of on the theory that I sort of desperately needed to rescue the situation in the center right now, and I could come back to deal with these other tanks later. I think it is now later. I need to go deal with these other tanks that are pushing through here. Is there anything else happening over here that I should pay attention to? Those birds are right there. Or birds, however that's pronounced. You forward. Inflicted some casualties on them, but they aren't okay. They were just eliminated. So we can move you forward. That machine gun needs to be dealt with. Got an anti-tank rifle and a tank trying to deal with that enemy tank there. The boy's anti-tank rifle takes a lot of flak, but in my opinion, it's not bad. I mean, it's an anti-tank rifle, so it's not great, but it's par as anti-tank rifles go. And like all anti-tank rifles, it's not very effective, but it's not completely ineffective either. It's decidedly better than no man-portable anti-tank weapon at all. Like, the sort of the main downside, or yeah, one of the main downsides to anti-tank rifles, of course, is you've got very poor post-penetration effects. So you've got this tiny 14mm round punches through and carries a very small volume of armor fragments with it into the interior of the tank that fans out in a relatively narrow cone and has a relatively small chance of inflicting crew casualties and destroying vital components. So you really need repeated hit after hit after hit after hit in order to be likely to disable the tank. Even if the armor is thin enough for you to have a good chance of penetrating it in the first place, which, the other downside of anti-tank rifles is they ain't got a whole lot of penetration, and smaller projectiles, of course, lose more energy to air resistance more quickly, so the penetration drops off with range more rapidly than a larger projectile would. So, short range compared to actual guns, 20mm plus cannons, relatively little penetration and poor post-penetration effects. But if you don't have any other man-portable anti-tank weapons, an anti-tank rifle beats the hell out of no anti-tank weapon at all. And you can make up for some of their deficiencies by massing them. Get a lot of anti-tank rifles all shooting at the same tank. That's more likely to have a cumulative effect. And also, of course, it has a psychological effect. Even if the anti-tank rifle it isn't likely to disable the tank, if the crew notices that every few seconds something's punching through their armor and sending high-speed metal flakes flying throughout the interior, that is going to, what is the term, be a significant emotional event, I think is the way you'd put that. And even if it doesn't disable the tank, it's pretty likely to encourage the crew to be elsewhere, make the tank go away. Like, they're not going to sit there and take that for long. So yeah, I think anti-tank rifles are, they're not good, but they're not worthless. Oh, I do need to adjust your orders because that was based on outdated notion of where the enemy was going to be when you got to the end of that. You get over there, and really don't have anyone who's already facing the right direction. want most of you to focus on keeping the pressure up. And you push forward to the next house. Alright, so you guys are starting to run out of ammo. You are crawling away from a tank, which I cannot argue with that. It seems a perfectly sensible thing to do. Do I have any more orders to give? I think we're doing... to have another anti-tank rifle up in that house. Okay, and I think we will proceed. These might be the last 3 tanks. The enemy may be down to 3 tanks in total. So it'll be nice if we can take them out. Would like you to actually hit. Ah, so tank got another hit in there. Ah, and now both the tank and the rifle got hits in. More. Did my tanks make much progress? Oh, and actually, what all transpired here? Pick up that squad. Oh, there was a gun somewhere. I think the same one that took out this tank. Those guys have not thrown in the towel yet. That way. Should do that way. That'll be much faster. Oh, you are running out of ammo. Actually, running low on ammo is an issue that a lot of my infantry are facing. Get them moving. Just the three I had identified earlier. That. Start to put that tank under fire. What do we got going on there? Oh, there's a gun up there. Makes some sense. Oh, dang it. You know, I did not put a TRP that far forward, or that far back. Just thinking that would be a good, artillery would be a good way of dealing with that. What are you taking with that? Missed. And other events do we have there? These guys seem less willing to surrender than most. Okay. So we've got battalion headquarters wiped out. That might very well have been General Miatilda himself. Oh, there it is. Okay. So there's still multiple guns throughout the fort. Actually, if we assume one gun per sandbag box, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inside the fort. And there are 3 more sandbag boxes outside the fort. Those are probably more likely to be containing machine guns. Okay, so we knocked out one tank. Wait, yeah, that's pretty close to exactly where I want you to be. You... The whole question of where is that guy going to be by the time this tank gets to him. Advance directly into that HQ building and confirm that we have control of it. And frog up one building. Follow him in. Yeah. Oh, how are my tanks doing on ammo? Think of it. They'll have been using up quite a lot of machine gun ammo. Excellent. Good work. So, continuing to finish off their tanks. We've got infantry in there that have not given up yet. think at this point the least risky thing for me to do with my tanks will be to once again take them off the leash and charge forward and take out the rest of those anti-tank guns, or artillery guns, with anti-tank capability. Well, that's not good. Over to that corner of the building. So if I just let those guns continue to fire with impunity, eventually they will get lucky again and take out another one of my tanks. And I'm going to split them off in two directions to overrun, you know, the guns that are firing from two directions. Again, this is a less risky tactic right now in late 1940 than it will be later in 1944 or 45, because the man-portable anti-tank options really are far more limited. The infantry have anti-tank rifles and anti-tank grenades, which, yeah, anti-tank grenades are a thing. Which they will kind of stop being a thing eventually, but I actually don't know if AT grenades are modeled in Combat Mission in CM1. But, you know, there are no Panzerfausts, there are no Panzerschrecks, so the risks involved in tanks charging off into, through the infantry's lines are not zero, but they're less than they will be in a later time period. And right now, I'm assessing that the less risky option is to charge forward and take out those guns, get in close where, like, these tanks have small caliber guns with no high explosive rounds. The 2-pounder, excellent anti-tank gun by early war standards. Like 82 millimeters penetration at 100 meters, still 52 out to 500 meters. That is well above what you would see on, like, most early war guns. Like the 37 mil on this Italian tank is much more typical for early war tank guns. The 2-pounder is an outstanding gun by early war standards. Maybe not necessarily, certainly not that great by mid or late war standards, but by early war standards, when sort of 37 up to maybe 45 millimeter was kind of the default. When those were the common calibers. The 2-pounder might actually be the best of the early war anti-tank guns. Downside, though, the British didn't issue any high explosive rounds for it, which makes some sense. Like, it's pretty small caliber, 40 millimeters. You're not going to pack a whole lot of high explosive in there. But still, you know, a small high explosive round, I think, is still better than no high explosive round. But that means that really the effective weapon my tanks have against these guns is just their machine guns. So I want to get them in close. Get them in close where they can use the machine gun more effectively, and maybe even, because, you know, the Italian morale has been proving fairly brittle in this scenario, you know, maybe induce the gun crew to surrender. That'll be nice if we can get that to happen. I think what I want to do, you know, I've got 4 tanks concentrating right and 4 concentrating left. Maybe they can meet up in the middle. Maybe capture this flag. We'll see how that goes. But now that I've got my infantry up to hang on to this objective, I should be able to do this, you know, without putting this objective at very much risk. And of course I have a few tanks peeled off to go deal with the enemy tanks. Actually, maybe I should stop to shoot at that tank from where you are. And rush forward. Of course, right now you're shooting at platoon HQ, which that is also something we need to deal with, but maybe less urgent than dealing with the enemy tank. Okay, on to the next turn. Hopefully the enemy will throw in the towel before too much longer. Okay, one more tank destroyed. And that one's backing out. Okay. Let's see now. Will letting my tanks off the leash be rewarded or harshly punished? Suppose we will see. And we'll probably see mostly next turn. That's a lot of enemies concentrated in that building, and they look pretty brittle to me. further orders to give here.
Just do.
What I actually want to do is move to contact. I think you as well. Contact. Oh, obviously, moving to contact. You already see an enemy right now, so... let's just fast move then. We'll pursue and finish off that last enemy tank. Okay. We have control of all these flags back. Oh yes, and I should maybe go and encourage that machine gun to re-surrender once I've dealt with the last tank. I think we will continue here. I think the biggest threat to my tanks are those guns, so the most important thing is give them as little time to shoot as possible. So rush forward, take them out. One of them, oh, I guess that one was taken out last turn. So I suppose we will find out if there are bad counterparts here and here. Oh yeah, like passing this close to enemy infantry later in the war, when shoulder-fired heat checkers have been invented, would be absolutely suicidal. But you can get away with it in the early wartime period. I mean, maybe not with complete impunity, as we've seen with what's happened with a few of my tanks. Oh, we already have credit for that flag now. So I guess... Oh. That tank's having a hard time getting going. Oh, I didn't watch what happened over here. I think that is where their tank is. Alright. Advance until you spot the tank. Oh, we are already on turn. So we're getting close to actually timing out this scenario. I was sure that the enemy would surrender. Okay, that crew has wisely decided to give up. See, charging the tanks forward against an enemy with weak morale can have that effect. Okay, I do need to actually order you guys past that ridge there. Yeah, this is likely going to be the last part for the last video part for this scenario, just because I suspect we're going to time out in a few turns here. I should get a victory. Okay. There was another gun right there. Okay. And we are successfully encouraging many of the enemies to surrender. Okay, so I expect another gun right about there. See if we can't get credit for that flag there. Get it to switch over to us by mere proximity. Ah, we do have one more gun over here to worry about. Most importantly, of course, we need advance over that ridge there. You have taken a crew casualty. Want to kill that last tank. Wonder how many prisoners they've taken. Now, it says turn 34 of 34 plus, so it's entirely possible there will be further turns after this one. I don't know how long variable time can go on for CM1, but we will see. Okay, got control of that flag. Okay. We're starting to put rounds into that last Italian tank there. Oh, I know what I'm going to do right after this. I need to rewatch the Chieftain video on developing the Italian tank doctrine. I think he spends some portion of that talking about this very tank, this one with the front-mounted 37mm gun. Okay, so we did succeed in taking out that last tank, and convincing this flag to turn British. Many of these Italian troops have not yet surrendered. No doubt we will convince them of the error of their ways before too long. That gun team will no doubt be convinced to surrender before too long. That gun's going to be destroyed soon. You know what? Maybe turn that way a bit. So yeah, the front and side armor are pretty close as far as they're pretty similar in strength, which is, of course, the ideal state of affairs if you want to try armor angling. The compromise you make with armor angling, or the sort of key considerations with turning the hull of your tank relative to a gun that's shooting at it, is you may increase the effectiveness of a given armored surface by putting it at an angle, tilting the armored surface. But doing so also tends to expose more of your side armor. So, and if your side armor is significantly weaker than your front armor, armor angling isn't worth it. But if the side armor is pretty close in effectiveness, pretty close in strength to your front armor, then angling increases the effectiveness of both. Okay, I think I'll just let them carry out the orders I already have. Yeah, maybe I might have been more optimal to give those guys some fresh orders. Now we've got that flag. So we are now credited with all of the objectives in the field. Surely that... Okay, that's a 47mm anti-tank gun. Okay, and it has now been knocked out. And I'm pretty sure we are now fairly close to knocking out the last of the enemy's anti-tank capability. Alright, we've identified that as a 47mm anti-tank gun. Which, by the way, is really not a bad anti-tank gun, particularly by early war standards. That rate's significantly higher than their 37. Still not as effective as the 2-pounder, but pretty good. And, I've even... Like, I have used the Italian 47mm anti-tank guns in 1944 against Panzer IVs, and have managed to get some success. I've knocked out late war Panzer IVs with 47mm anti-tank guns. So they can be pretty effective. That guns out of action? No. Got one more gun there. Worry about. Oh, there is another tank over there. I wonder if the battle will last long enough for us to be able to take it out. Maybe need a little bit of assistance there. There's a main gun. Even though you don't have any HU. Oh, you are out of machine gun ammo. Huh. Except if I ordered you to move on. Ah, okay. They just decided to surrender. Smart move. Okay. That really should be their last tank. What did I just hear? You know, I bet that must have been an Italian anti-tank rifle. Side hit. It is an Italian anti-tank rifle. See, they've got a 20mm, don't they? Honestly, that just looks like a boy's. Shooting at something else now. That truck. Yes, that truck does probably need to die. So, generous as I was recently being about anti-tank rifles, about that. I think the chance of this managing to do anything to a Miatilda is pretty low. No, the Miatilda is out of machine gun ammo. Yeah, we really do need this battle to end soon because we're running out of ammo. It isn't over yet. That's okay. Maybe that'll give us a chance to kill another tank. There we go. Okay. So how did we come off? All right. 37 casualties to 425. That is more than 10 to 1. That is, what is that? 326 enemies captured. Okay. Alright, so I'm fairly sure that total casualties does include the killed here. What I don't know is it counting the captured? I mean, strictly speaking, it should. Captured is one category of casualties. But maybe not? Because that would mean... Hang on. So if captured are not included in this casualty count, that would make their actual casualties 751. If they are included, then 425 minus the 326 captured would mean 99 killed and wounded, minus the 88 killed would mean 11 wounded. So an 8 to 1 wounded to killed ratio, or an 8 to 1 killed to wounded ratio, or 1 to 8 wounded to killed ratio, is pretty implausible. So I'm going to go ahead and guess that the game, this AAR is not counting the captured among the casualties, which means the loss ratio is actually, okay, so my casualties are 37. I'm fairly certain the 9 is included in that 37. So that's 751 divided by 37, 20.3 to 1. I destroyed 18 guns. I lost 3 tanks. And that is, 100% on me. Maybe reasonable to blame poor handling on my part, because, they're Matildas. They should be pretty darn hard to knock out. But we took out 28 enemy tanks. Or 28 enemy vehicles. I think the trucks are counted among those. Let's see now. Oh, there's a lot of mines there. I guess I'm fairly glad I didn't attack from that direction. Right, as I recall, the briefing did warn me about mines. The specific direction I chose to attack from was the direction that happened to not have any mines. Well, that was lucky. I guess that one is automatically abandoned on account of the fact that the enemy surrendered. Okay, so Operation Compass is off to a pretty good start. Now I have to go look up how this battle actually went. I suspect like in this case, I probably did I probably did not do as well as the historical. I probably didn't get as good as the historical outcome. Because as I recall, like all of the Operation Compass battles were really lopsided, even more lopsided than I got here. Okay, that was a fun battle. And I appreciated the scenario designer not getting too. Not being overly focused on balanced. I think far too many scenario designers rate balance a little bit more highly than I think it deserves. I think balance is generally overrated. Balance is. I mean, when every scenario is balanced, you do get a lot of practice with, defeating an equal adversary, which is an important skill to practice, an important set of tactics to practice. But there are two other important sets of tactics to practice, and that is, I think, being able to exploit against a weaker adversary and withdraw in the face of a stronger adversary. So unbalanced scenarios give opportunities to practice those two skill sets, which can be quite different from what we're used to practicing as wargamers, defeating an equal adversary. But yeah, if you're not necessarily practiced or trained to think in terms of how do I recognized, oh, this adversary is much weaker than me, how do I exploit most effectively against them? Because you're just not used to thinking in those terms. You're used to, how do I beat an adversary who's equal to me, who there's some doubt whether or not I will come out as the victor. So there's, the outcome's not in doubt, I'm gonna win, but how do I turn this victory into a decisive victory? So there's that end, and there's also the other end. I'm gonna lose. The enemy is much stronger than me. How do I prevent this defeat from becoming a decisive defeat? So I appreciate the occasional unbalanced scenario, even highly unbalanced. But yeah, okay, this was a lot of fun. I think I'll probably be trying to, at least where CM1 is concerned, be alternating between Afrika Korps and Barbaros de Berlin. And I'll try to get some more CM2 videos out as well. The CM1 I am perfectly fine with doing this format of unedited, just record while I play videos. CM2, because I can just save my games in the replay phase and keep those as long as possible. I have the means to turn those into edited cinematic-looking videos, so feels like every one I've done, I really should just be an edited cinematic video. But that means I need to find time for editing, which, there will be more CM2 content to come as soon as I find time for editing. Anywho,